If you treat creators like media buys, you get impressions. Yeah. If you treat creators like partners, you get influence.
Welcome, everyone, to the Seriously Social podcast. We're on episode 3. Today, we're going to be talking about the creator economy. Thank you all for tuning in. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. And if you appreciate this content, we appreciate it. And for that like, here's a picture of a cute puppy. So what I want to talk about is what is the creator economy, right? Like, I think we all have maybe slight different definitions, but to me, and I think the rest of the world, it's the ecosystem where creators are building an audience, then they are monetizing that audience and or building a brand around that audience. And we have a lot of different fun examples for us to take a look at, like MrBeast and a couple, Emma Chamberlain and a couple of other people. I do want to talk about one stat though. Okay. So Goldman Sachs in 2023 put out a report and also put out a report this year. But in 2023, the creator economy was worth $250 billion.
That's insane.
That's completely wild. Insane. And then the most recent report that they put out says that the creator economy is going to be worth $480 billion by 2027.
Wow.
So before we get into the future, I wanted to talk about the history and kind of how we got here. So, you know, the creator economy has been a thing for around, a long time, right? Like when we think back, even in the 90s, even before that.
Even in the 90s.
Even in the 90s, yeah. Even in the 90s, where, you know, Hulk Hogan was selling merchandise and whatnot. But the economy that we're talking about today is really the internet creator economy. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. So here's some numbers that I have. So between 2005 and 2012, it first started off with user-generated content, right? So it was ad models, people creating content, and then them getting paid by YouTube, AdSense, early blogs were getting some sponsorships, and then a lot shifted right after 2012.
Okay.
Between 2013 and 2019 is really where it popped off. So this is where influencers started to quote unquote professionalize. Mm-hmm. They started to become their own business. They started to have agents. They started to do all of these different things where they were taking on brand sponsorships. And then in 2020 through 2022, between COVID, a lot changed. A lot of platforms arose where you could own your own audience. You could go out on something like Kajabi or Beehive or any one of these platforms. Yeah.
Oh, what's the one where Patreon?
Patreon. Exactly what I'm referring to is where these platforms were now giving direct access to monetary value, money from the audiences that.
And now we have OnlyFans. We went from Patreon to OnlyFans.
Yeah. Well, even on TikTok, right? They have a subscribe option now where if you want to see certain, you have to pay.
They have it on Instagram. Like there's subscription broadcast channels and stuff on Instagram, on Facebook. What was the one you said? TikTok. Yeah.
And then something really interesting happened in 2023. And this is nothing new, right? So history repeats itself, or at least it rhymes. In 2023, until now, it changed from a cash for post to a performance model, where now, if you think about TikTok Shop and the affiliates on TikTok Shop, they're getting paid on the performance that they drive for the brand versus a brand just directly paying that person. So that's kind of the history, right? So like I said, it started way long ago. Influencer marketing is nothing new. People used to brand. I mean, you know, our president Trump did this for a very long time, and even in the 80s, Trump hotels, Trump casinos, whatever. But starting in 2005 is where really everyday person could become an influencer, monetize the content that they're putting out, and then most recently it has switched over to performance-based.
Right. I think when you were talking about certain celebrities like Hulk Hogan and Trump, it's like it was kind of something associated with celebrities where they took their existing empire and influence and turned it into a money-making machine. Basically, they were associating themselves with certain brands, maybe even kind of creating their own brands. But it was, I think, less common than it is now for them to actually build their own empire. It was like they were always working for someone else, right?
Right.
They were partnering with a brand and then making money from that brand. But now, you know, it sounds cliche, but it's like anyone can do it. It's like anyone can become an influencer.
Yeah,
and
it's
then
true.
And then take that so much further to not only, like, there's so many, the reason I think we call it an economy is because there's so much more than just, okay, there's so many options. So number one, you can, like you said, get commission by working with a brand, and based on your performance of the content you're creating for that brand, can continue to keep getting paid. Another option is to maybe partner with a brand and have a product that is specifically yours, but it's with the brand. So think about Charli D'Amelio or Sabrina Carpenter having their own drink at Dunkin' Donuts. Still a Dunkin' Donuts product, not a Sabrina Carpenter product, but associated with her, and I'm sure she's making money for every sale, right? Then there's having your own product, like you mentioned Emma Chamberlain, incredible influencer who has really paved her way. She's now associated with things like the Met Gala, where she is a journalist there. And she started her own coffee company, and that has exploded. And that has become like a household item that you can just have associated with this one person who just started in her 20s on YouTube, right? So there's so many aspects to what that
so I
economy is.
actually wanted to talk about that, where it's, what are the different ways that creators make money?
Yeah.
So there are really 5 ways, right? So first is brand deals,
Right.
kind of what you were talking about. A brand pays you to post on their behalf.
Mm-hmm.
The second is ad revenue through their YouTube, AdSense, any other channels that might, you know, provide ad revenue.
Yeah.
The third is the affiliate and social commerce revenue, right? So I drive sales for you, you pay me a little bit.
So this is like to know, Amazon storefront, Shop My,
Yep.
etc.
Exactly. TikTok Shop.
Dark shop, yeah.
The fourth is subscriptions and communities. So that's the Patreons, that's the X subscribe, YouTube subscribe. And then last is what you were talking about, which is creator-led brands, creator-led IP, which creators are using their own brand and saying, I own this product, I stand behind it, and this is mine.
Yeah. One thing I want to add to that, to your point and to both of y'all's point, was these brands, we're not only talking about creators that have millions and millions of followers. We're talking about creators who may be local influences. I have, specific examples, 3 of them here. The first one being the San Antonio Munchies, so Alex Serna. So what she did was, there was a local restaurant, wasn't doing well, and she was a local influencer there. And she essentially, through the storytelling of this Tex-Mex restaurant, drove a whole full house. It just pretty much sold out. And ever since then, it became a touristy destination.
Oh, wow.
And now it's popped off. Just literally local in San Antonio.
One of the restaurants we actually like to go to a lot is Zeba's.
Shout out Zebas. Don't go there. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, you can't get a table anymore.
Oh.
So it used to be like this underground spot.
They literally,
It
like,
happens.
the sign outside says Grant Park's best kept secret, because it really is, like, it's a little hole in the wall, and we used to go there all the time. It's so good. And there'd be like 2 tables that had people at them. And we went recently on Monday, and it was packed, and there were people just kept coming in.
And because it went viral.
Yeah, we asked the waitress, she was like, yeah, someone put it on TikTok, and now which is great for Zepas.
Yeah, so all the way from the small to the really big, there's opportunities for many. It's literally turning into, if you understand the platforms and you know how to create the content and you are a good storyteller, you have an opportunity not only to create your own brand, but make an impact locally or nationally.
There are other folks that I think of, like Alex Cooper with Call Her Daddy, which, if you don't already know, everybody probably does, but her podcast started as just this like dating comedy podcast. And then eventually it has just exploded into really an empire. Like, it's more than just, she has her own brand, but she has started an actual complete network called the Unwell Network. That now network has started its own shows beyond her podcast, like Gabby Wendy, who I mentioned, I think, in episode 1 or 2. Gabby Wendy is now, there's a show, what's it called? Oh, Love Overboard, which is like its own reality TV show on this new network, started by Alex Cooper. And it all started with her just starting a podcast, becoming an influencer, pushing herself. She now has a hydration drink similar to like Prime, which would be another example of a creator. Who's that? Logan Paul? Logan Paul. He has obviously also started an entire empire beyond just making funny YouTube videos and selling products. He has started like a full sports network, hasn't he?
He's a part of the WWE.
Okay, well, close him. I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to Logan Paul, but just the idea that these creators started as exactly that, creators, went from creators to influencers, had an influence, and then from there built an entire empire around their personality and their name. And that's what's driving all of the sales within their empire. That's crazy.
It is wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually have 3 case studies.
Okay.
So the first one is Elf. Everyone knows Elf.
Elf Cosmetics, yeah.
We actually pitched Elf a while ago. Really awesome brand. But they did eyes, lips, and face. That was the name of the campaign. And they drove 7 billion views through UGC content. So they put out this contest. People, I don't know exactly the details, but they drove 7 billion views through UGC posts.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. And then that was a huge increase in their brand lift. People who didn't know about Elf before now know about Elf. It was a lot of earned media. So instead of spending dollars on Meta or X or LinkedIn, they were able to capture that attention through UGC content. And overall, it was a big win. And it was all social first, right? Because it was UGC.
2 brands out there that, like, I talk to brands and clients all the time that really think, like, we have to be working with influencers. And yes, there's obviously benefit to that, but often if you don't have the resources to pay huge influencers to get your name out there, doing something like that, a UGC campaign where you're curating, folks already are out there that are creators that are probably using your products that would love to get involved with your brand in some form or fashion. That's another really great way to kind of get what you call earned media. Like, you didn't pay for it, you earned it, but you obviously put a lot of front end work into building out the campaign.
I agree.
Exactly. Yeah. So another example is Chipotle. So Chipotle did a campaign called Lid Flip and Guac Dance. I don't know if you
I haven't seen it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So early TikTok days, they ended up getting 100,000 UGC pieces of content around this campaign.
Wow.
100,000.
100,000. And that drove 100 million views.
That's wild.
In the early days of TikTok, right? Like when brands were not even publishing, and then they were able to capture all of that footage, use it in their organic, and then 100 million views. I mean,
They flanked the market.
Yeah.
Opportunity was at one of its highest. So.
The beginning of TikTok, everyone was just dancing. Everyone was like, let me make a dance. Every brand was like, can we make a dance?
Why not?
Yeah, that was the way.
You gotta understand
as a
platforms,
marketer,
right?
you have to like lean into what's
You
working.
have to understand the platforms.
It has shifted a lot, I think, towards audios, right? Like, it used to be dances. It used to be like what you're doing in front of the camera. And now it's sounds. Yeah.
I remember when Twitter did Spaces.
Mhm.
And that was a whole sound thing. And then there was another one, Clubhouse. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We did a Clubhouse episode.
Yeah.
We did?
We did one. It was a small one.
Was I on it?
I don't
Yeah.
remember. Maybe.
All right, well, fair enough.
It was about something.
Yeah, and then the last example, which is the most notable example, is with MrBeast. It's a creator-led brand with Feastables. And it just demonstrates, if you're able to build this large audience, create a product around it, and understand who that audience is, not just say, this is what I like, so let me build it, but like, who is my audience? Who's gonna purchase what I'm about to create, and what do they actually want? And then because of his name, he was able to get into all of the Walmarts, able to get into all of the different stores, because, as you know, if you create a new brand, like if us 3 sat here and created a new brand, there's no chance we could get into Walmart, right? Like, it would be really hard for us to get into Walmart versus Walmart said yes on a dime because it's MrBeast.
That's the same with Alex Earl. So everybody knows who Alex Earl is, and she has now started Sip Margs, which is just like a Truly or a Sun Cruiser, and had no trouble, obviously, getting into liquor stores all across the states. Is actively running activations across the country on college campuses and other places where she's, giving out Sip Margs. But I think one thing to note with that, like with Feastables, with Sip Margs, is that, like you mentioned, they do a really good job understanding their audience, but also I think what they represent. So Alex Earl is known for being a partier. She likes to drink. She's a sorority girl. Like, that's how she started. And she loves margaritas, right? Like, that's her thing. And it works really well with her personality and with her brand, and people understand it, and it goes really well with her. Same thing with Emma Chamberlain and coffee. In every video, she was making coffee or drinking coffee, so it makes sense. I think sometimes influencers try to do that really well, and then where they fail is when they're just making a product, but it doesn't necessarily go with their existing brand. And I think Alex Cooper is one of those examples, even though I mentioned her earlier, where she did a really good job with Unwell. She got a lot of backlash when it came to her drink Unwell, which is just a water, like a Prime, like I mentioned. It's a hydration product. And I think what I noticed was a lot of backlash of people saying, you're just trying to sell us something. Like, what does this have to do with you? You've never talked about hydration or
Well,
water.
that leads me into my question is, how many of these creators do you think are actually like business people? Like, how many of them are operating on a business level? Because some of the
Small
stuff
percentage.
I would, maybe, I don't know the numbers, but like I know, for example, MrBeast, he is an operator.
Yeah.
He goes into the targets. He looks at like, oh, wow, my shit is falling over because our flap is too small.
Yeah.
And then he'll fix the flap or whatever. Like, how many of these people are, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with just being the creator in the face,
Yeah, for sure.
but how many of them are actually in the business? How many of them are actually in the weeds to really grow the business and not just do the marketing, which is one aspect of the business?
There are some creators who are really good actually at showing you that side of things, so that you do understand that they have a much better grasp on their business, and less so just that we're doing this for fun and because I want to make money.
Right.
It shows that it is a passion project for them and how involved they are with it. Alex Earl is one of those people that she'll show like behind the scenes of meetings setting up with liquor stores and things like that, and why she's really into it. She also just not to just promote Alex Earl, but I think she just does a good job also. She'll go on like business management school boards and be part of panels with business schools and things like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
To kind of promote, she has her own scholarship at Miami University, things like that, where she's like, I'm really into this, I'm really good at it, and I'm doing something more than just being a pretty face and selling something because I'm trying to make money.
Right.
I mean, to y'all's point, going back to the creators that may not be good at it, it's okay, right? To what Keith was saying, that's where you surround yourself with amazing teams. So going back to MrBeast, Logan Paul, obviously some of these people may be more business in tuned, but that doesn't mean that they didn't have amazing people who surrounded themselves with people that allowed them to do the things that they may have not been great at. And so going back to creator, if that's not naturally you, it's okay. You have to figure out where you play a role and where you need to surround yourself with them.
And do you think that you have to have like 1 million+ person following in order to create these brands? Or do you think someone with 100,000 person following can create brands?
I think anyone can create a brand around themselves.
Well, I meant like leveraging their name.
Yeah, I think anyone, I mean, like you were talking about the local, the Tex-Mex restaurant, like they leveraged their name.
I agree. So that was to impact another influence, another local business, but there was a second one. It was a Dairy Boy. So it was a local creator, Paige Lawrence. She partnered with a farm stand that was ran by, it looks like Vivian Simmons was her name. So it used to be called Vivi's Veggies, and it was a farm stand, but it was going out of business. And so this influencer, Paige Lawrence, created a brand in combination with her called Dairy Boy, and now the farm stand is full all the time. Now, and she owns that brand, right? Versus the first example I gave was just a local business that this creator had impacted. To Keith's point, for those that impact the businesses, or those that have names that can impact the business, I can agree that large influencers have maybe some leverage. But check out our second episode, and if you remember what we talked about, which is social commerce. And so these smaller influencers... That was episode 1. Was that episode 1?
Yeah.
Episode 1. Sorry. We talked about search engine or social engine optimization last time. But those types of creators, going back to social commerce, can still win because they may not get into the Walmarts or the Targets or these distribution opportunities. So what they can do, though, is learn about social commerce, live shopping, and through their name and brand and their creative capabilities, they can win that way, in my opinion.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I also, kind of flipping the script a little bit, I think also there is this unique transition of existing CEOs or business owners that then become influencers, right? So it's almost backwards. It's like how now they are trying to leverage that same sort of market. They're trying to leverage social media. They're trying to get that same attention for an existing brand. So think Spanx, think Phase. I don't know if you've heard of PopFlex. The owner of it, she's a YouTube fitness instructor. Cassie, I think is her name. And almost every video is her showing why she made a particular pair of leggings. And it was like all the comments that were asking for, hey, I wish these leggings had pockets. And she shows, and so she took a brand that she had already started in a business that she was creating, and then decided, let me make all this content around it so that there is influence around the brand. Same thing with like Baze, which I've brought up before with Shay Mitchell. She started the brand. She was already a celebrity. She was already known. But to really get attention for the brand, she then turned into an influencer about the brand,
Right.
and made it all about her personality as like a lifestyle brand. So I just think that's really cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've all talked a lot about right now the creators and the brands that they're creating. And I know some of our audience may be interested on the flip side of the persona, which is if you are a brand, what should you be doing with the creator economy, or what are the opportunities that you're looking for?
Yeah. So I actually have a playbook for, if you're a social media director, a marketing director, or anyone in marketing and you work specifically at like a Fortune 5000 company, I think there's a couple of things you should consider. First is you want to treat your creator network for two things. One, it's a performance channel. Creators can drive revenue. And then two, it's a content supply chain, right? So the creators can create content that you can use within your organic, within your ads at the end of the day. So treating the creator network that you own as performance and content. The second thing is mixing the use cases, right? Some creators you're going to want to use for reach, engagement. Other creators you're going to want to use for driving sales, revenue. Other creators you might want to use specifically for content, right?
That's right.
The third thing is you want to make sure that you're measuring stuff that holds up within procurement, right? So a lot of social media directors and marketing directors that we work with that work at these Fortune 5000 companies, they are trying to fight for budget.
Right.
Procurement has a job, right? If you can understand what procurement wants and then align what the creators are doing, you could easily get more budget, right? So procurement definitely cares about brand recall, brand lift. They obviously care about performance, cost per acquisition, revenue growth, etc.
I think one of our entire episodes coming up, sneak peek, is about social ROI, but that's exactly what you're talking about, right? It's like, okay, understand that I'm getting a lot of engagement, I'm getting a lot of likes. What does that mean for the sales? And that exact question is, what is the ROI of social media, of social efforts? And I think one thing I want to jump in and say before you go further is the understanding of creators versus influencers, because there is a difference. Right. And so a lot of clients, whether they've been in social forever, still kind of get confused sometimes, which it makes sense. They're kind of doing the same thing, but there is value to both. So creators are going to be anyone that's really good on camera. They're good at creating this UGC style content with your product in its actual use case, experiencing it, showing the lifestyle around this product. And that content is going to live with you on your page, on your socials, on your page, on your website, wherever, on your Amazon. And then there are influencers who have their own network. They have their own influence. And what they really bring to the table is that network. They bring the audience. They bring, the people. And then the value there is their engagement with their audience. So usually you want to have a mix of both, ideally, so that you're creating really strong content that's living on your page, but you're also creating really strong content that's living on these influencers' pages.
I agree. Because I have a stat around, some of the monetary information. So when you're doing creator-led content, brands that are directly attributing their creator-led content to sales, they're seeing an average of 6.5x return on their spend.
These are creators on their page.
That's right.
Okay.
Versus when they traditionally create content on their own that may be also driving towards sales, but that typically is anywhere between 2 to 3x. This is 6.5x.
That's awesome.
That's insane.
Yeah, so a couple of other things for the Fortune 5000 to think about is obviously the most important is contracts and the compliance around all of this. Every influencer that you work with, you want to make sure that you have the legal and the agreement in place to be able to have the rights and the reusage rights of all of that content. Obviously, the FTC and the federal government are going after the Fortune 5000. You want to make sure that you're abiding by the FTC guidelines that they outline, and a couple of other things, right? Like if you're having to send a product to an influencer and they're having to do something within their home, maybe it's a pool-related project or whatever it might be, you also want to consider the safety concerns because that influencer at the end of the day is acting as a vendor and could sue you if, you don't help them understand, or if your agreement doesn't outline that, hey, you can't sue me because you're an idiot.
From the creative director standpoint of that, another thing to think about is the creative brief, the actual concept that's going out. So if you're working with an amazing agency like ours, then maybe they're handling it for you. But if you are creating the concept briefs, I think there is, when you're working with influencers or even creators, you don't want this content to feel really salesy per se. Now, if you're running it as an ad and you already know going in that you want it to have that feel, sure. But if you're creating organic content that's just living on your page or living on this influencer's page, you want it to feel organic. You want it to feel authentic. So often when I'm putting together creative briefs for our creators, I always include, change the language if needed to adjust to your tone of voice and how you would say this. These are the points that you have to make. These are the messaging key benefits of this product that I need you to say on camera. But if I wrote, cut a cucumber while you're talking about this and you don't have a cutting board, try something else. Maybe walk your dog. Just give me some sort of action. But I need this to feel natural. I need it to feel authentic. So sometimes I think we run into creators who are clients who are working with creators who are pushing them to produce a piece of work that looks, overproduced and acts a certain way. And that's not going to perform. You want it to feel really real and authentic.
I agree. If you treat creators like media buys, you get impressions. Yeah. If you treat creators like partners, you get influence.
Someone write that down. Okay, Jim.
Yeah, and then so here's kind of a simple approach for the enterprise, right? Of how they should allocate budget. So maybe 40% of your budget is going towards content, right? UGC, with the creators, UGC stuff that you get to use in your organic channels. Another 40% maybe goes to media amplification, right? So you're hiring the Emma Chamberlains, you're hiring, these big names to amplify the reach at the end of the day. And then maybe 20%, especially if you're a D2C brand or you sell in retail or whatever, from an affiliate / revenue driving standpoint. So if you kind of follow that rule where 40% you're spending to get content to use, 40% you're using for brand amplification, you're hiring someone to, yell your name, and then 20% you're using to drive revenue. I think that's a good split. And then as you see the data rolling in, you can say, wow, our affiliates are killing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's move budget from content to affiliates. And then you can kind of follow that. But that's a good starting point.
That's great.
So before we move into the next thing, or what, if you were going to say something, the one thing I want to touch upon on budgets is, so would you all consider this creator economy, influencers, creators, etc., the marketing spend that you've put into it is really a substack of really the total spend you invest, what I believe is the most important thing in social media today, which is content, right? So you have this big bucket of content, and this avenue that we're talking about right now is really one piece of the puzzle when you think about organic social media. One stat that I have that actually Gary Vee pointed out, and I guess it's not a stat, it's more of a recommendation. He believes in today's world, Fortune 5000 brands should spend 20% of their total marketing budget strictly on organic social media content. So out of that 20%, now to Keith's point, the 20-20-40 is only a portion of that you're focusing on influencers and creators and et cetera. So just a rule of thumb for if you're a brand, if you're a marketer, how you're thinking about spending your money for the upcoming 2026 year, there's some guidelines.
I like that. Cool. So I think that's a wrap for the creator economy. Let's move on to the next segment.
6 quick tips for the brand.
Kaushal.
And it's actually stuff that we've already talked about, but I'll just summarize it. So shift from sponsorships to strategic partnerships, right? Don't treat your creators like
that's a
media buy. Treat them like a partner.
Okay.
2, figure out how you can tap into creator-led UGC at scale. Going back to the Chipotle example, 100,000 pieces. Right. I mean, what are other opportunities or ways? Maybe you can't get 100,000, that's a lot, but ways to scale what you're doing at UGC. 3, micro community. So if you understand your persona, one of the biggest things that we've talked about here at Socially and internally is the micro segmentation of your audience. If you can figure out those micro personas and you can find niche creators that relate to those communities, that's another opportunity.
Yeah, when I think about micro communities, to cut you off, I think about Reddit. And we're going to do a whole episode about Reddit, and we're going to give you tactical advice on what you should be doing on Reddit today, because all of the LLMs are using Reddit to inform answers. But that's when I hear micro community, that's what I think about. like a subreddit.
I agree.
I was going to also cut you off and say that with with those what did you say, micro audiences, micro segments? Yeah. Those should be social specific.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, no offense to other type of marketers, but a lot of times we'll work with marketing departments that aren't social focused or social first, and they already have buyer personas, and that makes sense. But a lot of times the buyer personas, when it comes to social, the way that they act and the way they behave on certain platforms is different, right? So it has to be social specific buyer personas and segmentation.
Right. I agree. So those were the last three really quickly. This is a unique one and maybe it doesn't work for everybody, but involve the creators in the product development. Duncan did
100%.
a really good job. They
That's
did
what
a
I said.
great with Charlie D'Amelio. Stat here, fastest selling item in their app history.
Yeah, and I would say I'm taking a step further, right? Yeah, that is crazy. Take it a step further and not just say involve them in the product development, but even if you're just getting an influencer to post one time on the Instagram, involve them in the creative process, right? Like the reason the people follow them is because they are the creative. They're the ones who create creative. And then if you give them a brief and like there's no input from the creative side from them, like they're just
it doesn't match the rest of their content, and therefore I'm probably going to scroll past it, or I'm going to be like, this sucks. Yeah. I think someone who does a really good job of that is Corporate Natalie. Do you guys follow her on social? So. Okay. Well, you all should. She's great, hilarious. But she does a really good job with brand deals that she takes on of finding a way to fit it into her existing content style. She does a really good job with that. I'll try to include some examples maybe in our description, because she's one of those people that I think she purposely, intentionally finds a way to whatever brand deal she's given, she makes it fit her existing content style.
I like that.
Last two, you two have already actually talked about. Keith talked about this one, embrace affiliate and rev share model. So if you're a brand and you're working with these creators, if they win, you win, trust me. So rev share and affiliate models. And the last one, I think Nisha, you touched upon this, is equip your internal team to think like creators. How do you do the lo-fi? How do you get naturally in tune with what the platforms are promoting, how their features work, what they like to see, what the community likes to see? So get your internal team to think like the creator.
I like that.
All right, let's move into my For You page, where each of us gets to bring an item to the table, just talk about anything going on in the world and pop culture on your For You page. Today, I'm going to start a couple, two little things. Spotify is adding DMs to the platform. Did you know that? I think that they say they're adding it, and I've seen on a couple websites that they already had it, but perhaps no one was using it. They're revamping it. But it just goes to show that every platform out there is trying to become a social network, or is becoming a social network, because that's where we are all interacting with each other.
I mean, we totally consider Spotify as social.
I mean, we have a Slack channel at Socially In called Fun Music, and people are just sending Spotify links all day.
Yes, that's true. I mean, even the platform itself, right? So you can follow people on Spotify. You can see what they're listening.
But now you'll be able to like chat with that person or share a playlist, or make, you're already able to like collaborate on playlists and such, but they're taking it one step further, and I thought that was really interesting.
That's pretty cool.
The other thing I have is that Instagram is now allowing you to link to reels, existing reels of yours, with any post that you put out. So I'll show you what that looks like here. But basically, you put out a post and you're able to link that to one of your existing videos.
I wonder if you can do some sort of game with that, right? Like some sort of like finding game where it's like you put out a post, link to a reel. That reel is like, okay, you got to go to YouTube to find this. Then YouTube is like, go back to October 13th. And October 13th, we have posted a post. That post links to another reel, and that reel gives you the directions.
That's a great idea. He's coming for my job. I'm going to give that to one of our clients. And I'm going to say it was my idea.
I can remember. Now, this is obviously a new feature, so it wasn't exactly the way Keith described it, but I believe, can't remember the exact timing, but I believe when we were researching, there was this one client that did something similar on social where they had like 6 different accounts, and they were like, hey, they posted
Well, Taco Bell's the most infamous one.
Okay,
So Taco Bell, when Snapchat was coming up, they ran a television commercial during the Super Bowl.
I remember that.
I do remember this.
Yeah, and it was like an epic movie or whatever, and it was like, if you want to see what happens at the end of the movie, go to our Snapchat.
That's
so
what it was.
Smart.
I was like, yeah, they interconnected it, different social platforms, different creative pieces. It was really cool. Yeah.
Nice.
Different media, I guess, from television to social to,
All right, Kaushal, what do you bring to the table today?
Okay, I got 2. One actually ties into the segment that we were talking about earlier, But the first one that I'm sure everybody has seen is the Taylor and Travis engagement and how that's
Huge.
created a frenzy.
Funny enough, I was on a call just earlier today with a prospect, huge prospect, big, what do you call cold medicine? Like just, it's a medicine. You take a sip, like if I said the name, everyone would know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should I start a name?
Like.
Just beep it out.
Yeah, everyone would know the name if I said the name. Anyway, the CMO of that company, I was on the call and I was talking about trends and how we at Socially In try to incorporate trending sounds or what might be trending in pop culture. And I was like, yeah, here's an example, the Grammys, the ESPYs, or something like Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift got engaged. And he goes, engaged? And I was like, yeah, engaged. And then the assistant who was on the call was like, yeah, it just happened like a week ago. And he was like mind blown. So like every single person was talking about this. And he's like this brawly dude who you would not expect, but I guess he's a Travis Kelce fan. So.
That's
Fair
so
enough,
funny. That's hilarious that's how he found out that they got engaged, was through the call with you.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Breaking news, baby. Subscribe.
The funniest has been the pieces of content where everyone's like in a serious situation. They're like, hold up, y'all. Travis and Taylor are engaged, and they're like, everything stops now. They close and they like dip out, and I'm just like, it's crazy. Obviously they break the internet every time, but they literally break the internet. Okay.
I should have used this podcast to release my new album.
Not too late.
Or my new creator product, now available on TikTok Shop.
Okay, the second one that I had is the J. Crew AI campaign and the backlash that they're facing. So this kind of goes back into a segment that we didn't touch around the creator economy and how AI influencers and AI content creation is going to really change. I think there's actually combination of the two that brands need to lean in on, but we can talk about that later.
AI influencers is crazy.
It's already happening.
First of all.
Most people say you probably have seen one without really realizing it, and that's in today's technology. They said in 24, 36 months, it's going to look insane.
I mean, OnlyFans is like crazy on AI. Like so many fake women
Fair enough.
are...
The bots that come around that leave a comment, they're like, am I pretty?
Yeah.
Have you seen those? They're out every post. There's like someone.
So, J. Crew, and I think we're going to see a lot of this, obviously, as brands are becoming more experimental and open to trying AI technology. But in this specific case, they got a lot of backlash because they created an ad from one of their original pieces of content from a photo shoot, video shoot that they created. And they were doing a collaboration with the Vans, actually. And they used the model that did the shoot to artificially put the Vans on him, but then they published it and the internet tore it apart because his foot was backwards, the stripes on the shirt.
Foot was backwards.
Yeah, like he was sitting like this with his Vans.
You should see Sarah's face.
His foot was like this, and it was also they were bashing it, and then they didn't put anything out there that they were using AI and this and that, so the internet tore it apart. They went back.
Was there no like final review?
The squiggly lines on the shirts were not the same, and
Well, maybe maybe it was planned.
It was a ploy to get engagement.
So they didn't incorporate that they use AI, because if you know on social platforms, if you use AI, there's a consent option that says AI was used to create this. They didn't do it after the backlash. They went back and added it on, and most people were calling it AI slop. So I do think there's a way to use AI, and maybe if you want to build on top of it, because it's not
genius. Definitely, like J. Crew, especially if it was premeditated, it's genius. It's like, let's put out something so AI.
People have to talk about it.
People have to talk about it. And we won't select the this is made by AI option. So people will think that, hey, like, this is a real piece. And then all of this press comes in. And look, if the shoes are fire, the shoes are fire at the end of the day.
So all in all, just to say, I do think AI is going to become more and more a part of everyday content creation. I would
100%.
And it's going to get better, so you really won't be able to
That's another topic I want to talk about. Is in depth how you can build your GPT within your own company to brainstorm social posts.
That's a good one, actually.
Okay, great.
And that's it. That's my For You page lately. I saw those two, thought I'd bring them to the table.
Okay. All right, let's move into thumbs up, thumbs down, where everyone brings something to the table, and we decide if we give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Kaushal, you want to go first?
Yes. Mine is actually, I guess, old news at this point, but I still figured we talk about it, which is the Cracker Barrel logo and the craziness that happened. Definitely thumbs down, definitely boo, thumbs down. But I think they heard us, they heard the internet, they heard everything that happened. They actually have reverted that change and are going back to the old logo.
For real?
After much
really
backlash.
rare. That's really rare. Like brands all the time will get a lot of backlash on their logos,
Well, they'll stick
and
to
they
the
just keep
guns.
going.
Well,
Yeah.
they stuck by it. So this is the funny story with Cracker Barrel. So when the news dropped, came out, their stock dropped 10 to 14%. They got tons of backlash. Multi-million billion-dollar company.
First of all, isn't it crazy how changing your logo can affect you by 14%?
Brand
like
is everything, right?
That's
So,
wild. Like they didn't even change anything in their products, like their service. They're
Yeah, they
like,
should have changed the service first.
Right, that's a good
right,
point.
but like that's wild, right? Like you would never think like we just changed what our logo looks like and the stock went down. That's crazy.
It's
Anyway, sorry,
insane.
continue.
No, it's insane to think about because they've received so much backlash from their fans, the audience, the public, President Trump. So long story short, they changed it. They stuck to their guns first and were like, we hear you all. We want to become more modern. We're not changing the way we service or what we have or the experience you'll have in stores, but this is the new us.
Wow.
So they stuck by it, continued to get backlash. Bad, right? And so then President Trump actually went to Truth Social and was like, you guys need to listen to your community, to your fans. You all need to go back to your old logo. This is not right. And essentially
Doesn't he
within
have
40
a country to run?
within 24 to 36 hours, they put out a public statement that they said they hear the fans. They're going
Holy
back
shit.
to their old
They hear
logo
the fans or you hear the president? Like,
right.
with Uncle Herschel back in the logo.
Uncle Herschel, that's his name?
Yeah, that's the old man. Old man on the logo is Uncle Herschel.
racist ass name.
So the brand actually called it Old Man Cracker, and then but
bad.
he does have an official name. It's Uncle Herschel. He's back in the picture. The logo is staying.
My boy Herschel.
And I guess that, whoever you want to thank, President Trump, the community, but Cracker Barrel's logo is here to stay.
Shit.
That's wild.
So
Well, I guess thumbs down first, and then now thumbs back
to
up.
thumbs up.
All right, mine is pretty basic, but it's pumpkin spice season once again. So I want to know, do you like pumpkin spice or is it a no?
Mine's no. Mine's no, sorry. If you ask my wife, she'll go like this. But
Okay,
I'm a thumbs
mine's
down on
here.
the pumpkin
I
spice.
personally love pumpkin flavored things.
I hate pumpkin.
I don't like pumpkin spice lattes.
pumpkin pie?
Yes.
Yeah, I like pumpkin pie.
So this is where I'm different. I don't like pumpkin flavored, but I love pumpkin.
Correct.
So pumpkin pie, epic.
I love a pumpkin candle.
Eat it.
If anyone wants to get me a pumpkin candle for my office, I will
I
accept.
can do pumpkin
I
candles.
love
yeah.
pumpkin smell. I love like flavor, but I don't like pumpkin spice, especially like lattes or coffees. It's like, it's too much, too
I
sweet.
don't like pumpkin lattes, yeah.
Anyway,
Or
okay,
pumpkin
that's
spice.
mine. All right. Well, I think that's a wrap for today. It was really interesting to learn about the creator economy,
Yeah.
kind of the shift of where it's going. And I mean, you said $480 billion estimate
2027.
for 2027. That's insane. So like the fact that it's just
$500 billion.
insane.
Only growing.
Yeah, we may end up talking about it again, in a couple months. Like, where is it actually gone at this point? But yeah, like I always say, keep creating, keep scrolling, keep liking our content and subscribing to it. And yeah, I'll pass it off to you to sign us off.
Yeah, no, I think we had a great episode. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Please subscribe, please like. It really helps us because it helps drive the algorithm to know what we do. And because you liked, here's the last picture of a puppy.
One last thing for me, if you know a brand or a creator that because of them or a brand working with a creator because of that is the reason that you bought a product, tag it in the comments section. Creators aren't a part of the economy, they are the economy. So
Kaushal with the gems today. Mic drop, walks out.
Mic drop. All right, great one, guys.
Yay!